With the MLO live show, I'm here with my dear friend Devin Dubuque in the house. Coach Rick and is in a converti with the sun shining on his head.
Oh yeah.
Get a little vitamin D in the house. What's up, man?
65 degrees, sunny. It's beautiful this morning.
Hey, what am I missing? Am I supposed to be in my car? Like everybody's in their car today. Zaddy, Rick,
We
That's
should do
'cause
that
I'm
show.
late.
We need to do that show where we're all in our cars.
Busy day.
in the car. Yeah, I got that little thing on that Starlink that literally the suction cup to the top of the car.
I like
It's
it.
pretty cool.
Oh,
Come on,
that's
Scotty. Next week is car week.
Uh-oh, we're at.
No, we're going to run the show from our cars.
Oh, car week next week. Car week. Okay. I thought, well, I'm with you, Mike. There's usually a car week every day with you, so you're at a car show.
Mr. Corvette.
Okay, so Mr. Corvette. Yeah. Yeah, baby. All right. Well, man, I'm super excited, man. Sean's always been with us through thick and thin every single day, and man, I appreciate you, brother. And you put together an amazing presentation, and we get to see a little inside scoop of who you are and where your business is coming from and the success you're having. And I mean, you just wake up and you close 3-4 million a month. So sorry it's so rough for you.
Well, what's funny, I think you need to have full disclosure on here too, Scotty, because literally just in 2021, Sean was a real estate agent.
He was.
Sean wasn't doing mortgages
No.
at all, right?
No.
And I remember when you were jumping on the morning show back then. That's how you and I connected.
Yep.
So I've seen you go from zero to hero.
A hero.
Right?
What, did you look at my slide deck already?
Yeah, well, I know, right? There you go.
Oh man, I got that.
I was
on
just
tape.
telling
We're right
Scott in the
here.
room, I said, I met Coach Rick at an event in Florida, and I think he'll remember this. And I looked at him and I go, I got this thing, and I'm trying to figure out how to go from here to here. And he goes, "Don't worry about that. Just keep doing what you're doing. It's working." That's all in the place.
Yeah, good
He
stuff.
goes, "How long are you doing this?" I go, "I don't know, about an hour and a half."
That's right. Yeah. So so I was going to ask you about that. Like, when did you? It was 21, and Devin knows the number, but is it?
Yeah, so
22.
22. So in the slide deck, I'm going to explain really what happened and really where that shift came from and how I ended up here. Why would I leave I had a real estate team. We would do 75 to 100 deals a year with me and 3 people.
Wow.
We never bought a deal, never bought a zip code, but it was, I focused on mainly just in the state of New Jersey. And quite honestly, I got burnt out. And you're going to see in the slide deck, and you'll see why is there a giant dog on my screen right now?
Yeah.
That's Rosie to Rosie. You'll find out what she's all about. And hopefully I'll bring some stuff to you.
No.
I said this to Scott in the green room. I said, instead of me just giving you, and Devin and I have talked about this a little bit too, is NLP. Yeah. I'm like a NLP geek. Instead of just giving you a bunch of tools, I wanted to actually give you the use of the tools and then show you and then point out how I use those tools and where they are in that conversation. So that you can actually see how they work versus just saying, here's a toolbox, and you go home with it and you're like, oh my God, what do I do with this thing?
And if I'm not mistaken, you got a little surprise for us.
I do actually. And if you guys stayed at the end, I'm actually going to give you something where I went from zero, like Devin, what's funny is Devin said, 0 to hero. The funny thing is I'm used to swimming upstream. I realize I've done this now 3 times in my life and gone literally from 0 to making $100,000 in less than 65 days. So I'm going to give you the blueprint for that because I actually use that in my mortgage business also, and I'll explain that as we go on. So
yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead. I'll let you continue, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah. So first and foremost, man. First of all, thanks for everybody coming on. I consider you guys like my real estate family. So as Devin said, I was in the real estate business for 25 years, more like 35, I think, at this point. I got out of the military. I was a Ranger in the Army, kind of a little bit of discipline. Somebody gave me a book and said, here, read this book, and it'll teach you how to make $100,000 a year. It was a book by a guy named Mike Ferry, who is, a lot of you guys know Tom Ferry. Everybody's like, who's Mike? I'm like, well, he would be the father of Tom Ferry, who actually is the granddaddy of real estate coaching. I was one of the first guinea pigs he coached on the East Coast. And literally, I because I was a Ranger in the Army, I did exactly what the book said, and I just followed the program. And over 30 years, I kind of figured out. I've spent over $1 million. I've had probably coaches from, you may recognize some of the names, like Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins I didn't coach with his company. I actually coached with Tony Robbins. Me and 3 guys paid him $25,000 each to coach us for 90 days. I could still remember the calls from the helicopter saying, hey, did you do your homework? If you didn't, I'm going to,
from
Scott,
the helicopter.
go to the next. By the way, why is it dated back 9? The first 9 was in real estate. The back 9, obviously in mortgage business. And now I'm going to show you something really cool with Rosie. It's going to take me to the 27 holes. So, early in my career, I figured out really quickly, there's a difference between people that are rich and people that are wealthy. So what is the big difference? People that are rich actually was me. I was getting up every day for 25 years grinding. And if I didn't put my foot on the gas pedal, the car didn't go. If I didn't get my team on a call in the morning at 8 o'clock and get on a Google Hangout call and get everybody on the phone and prospecting and grinding away. I mean, legitimately, I was so ADHD. Some of you guys know this. I actually had a surfboard leash tied to the bottom of my desk and put around my ankle so I couldn't go more than 6 feet away from my desk while I was making my calls, because I knew if I made 27 calls a day, I'd make 10 grand a month. So
27 calls was 10 grand.
At that time, yeah, it was 10 grand. Then it became 50 and then it became 10. It kind of varied. But what I realized was I was grinding all the time. And I had coaches that were telling me not to grind, to align with your market, align with your purpose, align with your passion. And I was like, all right, great. Okay, let me get back up. I got to go to work. I got to make money. I got to grind, and I had people. How many of you guys remember the Tasmanian devil, right? That thing would spin around 100 miles an hour. Yeah. I was a Tasmanian devil for probably the last 10 years of my career in real estate, because I was spinning at my desk 100 miles an hour trying to find business. And Scott would come to me and try to come after me and say, hey, Sean, I want to give you this. I want to give you some business. Except I was the Tasmanian devil guy. I was going so fast grinding that I was throwing him away from myself. And I was pushing him away from me because I was not attractive. I was not the most attractive guy in the room at that time. I was like, listen, don't talk to me. Like, my assistant, basically, I took a job with Weichert Realtors, which is one of the larger private boutique firms in New Jersey. Jim Weichert Jr. came to my office while I was prospecting. My assistant basically threw him out of my office and wouldn't let him in my office, because he said, if I let you in there before 11:30, he'll fire me. He didn't know that it was Jim Weichert Jr. like we know. But what's funny is he kind of shook my hand afterwards and said, that's a great model. I wish I could teach other people to do it. So here's the funny thing is, I realized, though, that I was not a duplicatable, repeatable person. I couldn't create a scalable business no matter how hard I tried, because my routine was get up at 3:30, do my affirmations, write out my goals, write out 10 reasons why somebody doesn't want to pay 5% commission, write it out 3 different ways or 5 different ways, because there's 4 different ways people think, and there's 4 different types of people and all that crap. Like, so me trying to train a 20-something-year-old or a 30-something-year-old was impossible. So here's how this works. Scott, you got to go that one. So here's what happens is, when you start to figure out, like, you get to the absolute bottom. So at the point I had 11 listings, about $800,000 each. I specialize in a high-end market. What's interesting is I wanted to change companies. My company actually took all my listings. They kept $60,000 owed to me in commissions. My listings, by the way, I sold 70% of my own listings, which would have generated about $500,000 on those deals. So I woke up one day, had no listings. I was owed $60,000. They took all my potential to earn income. I was also in debt for $20,000 or $30,000 a month on my regular business, and then I had 2 kids in the house, and it was 65 days to Christmas. So I was like, crap, what do I do? I actually I sat down. I took 2 days and actually went to a hotel and locked myself. And I took every mentor that I ever talked to and created one model and one business plan, which was the 10X personal success formula. By the way, we used it to coach now 2,000 people over the years, how to go from 0 to making 100 grand in less than 90 days. So what is the basis of that book? And by the way, I'm going to give it to you in a minute. Scott, hold on one second. Go back. Okay. The basis of it is really simple. It's really getting aligned with your customers and defining who your customers are and who you want them to be, versus taking every Tom, Dick, and Harry and just responding to things. It's actually being intentful and purposeful and saying, here's the people I want to focus on. Here's how I'm going to do it. And by the way, NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. It's selling people on a concept or an idea and leads them to a decision that they feel as though it was their idea. What's funny is the first person the guy I learned the most about it from was Anthony Robbins. Scott, can you go to the next one? Anthony Robbins actually taught us how to use NLP for ourselves and program ourselves and say, hey, and it's the cartoon is, I'm a great salesperson. I'm a great salesperson. The problem is the vast majority of us wake up and go, oh, my back hurts, my ass hurts, this hurts, that hurts. I have no business. I have no business. And what happens is you start attracting your butt hurting, your back hurting, and no business, because you're actually, your brain is wired and it's a magnetic, whatever you want to call it. It actually picks up on what you're talking about, what you're thinking about. And it's going to start to try to put it in front of you. If you start looking, if Coach Rick wants to buy a brand new BMW, black one with convertible, and he's driving a Volkswagen, every time he comes out of his driveway, more than likely he's going to see a black convertible BMW come by. And even if it's 3 miles down the road, he's going to catch it out of the corner of his eye because his brain is saying, hey, look for these black convertibles, right? So here's the funny thing is, when I was in the real estate business, at some point in 2008 or 9, I was still doing okay, but I was burnt out. My mortgage lender had asked me to start coaching his salespeople and stuff like that. He was one of my best friends. He was my business partner. He came to me and he said, you look burnt. I go, man, I'm exhausted. If I see another purple kitchen, I'm going to hang myself. And he's like, why don't you come into the mortgage business and teach the people that you're like, at that time, I was coaching his salespeople on what I was doing in the real estate business. And the people that were on the bubble that were going to get fired, I would coach them. And at some point, his regional manager came in and said, hey, you know what, can you do this regionally? And I go, yeah, of course. I actually created the whole coaching program, the whole thing. We rolled it out. And at that point, all of a sudden, next week later, COVID hits. I'm back to zero again. So now I'm going to go back again and go back to zero and start over again, like we talked about. At some point, I decided that, I was going to go in the mortgage business. And it really made sense for me at the time. And I thought like, wow, I know all these realtors, they're going to give me business, right? What I didn't realize was that the way I built my business was on doing for sale by owners and expireds and withdrawals. Was probably 40% of my business. So if I took a lot of business from Devin, or if Allison's brother or sister or cousin did business with me and did business with Allison because they figured out that, I was doing 8 to 10 deals a month. Allison was doing 3 deals a year, which one makes more sense? I'm going to go with the guy, I love you to death, but I'm going to go with the guy I know I can get this done. If you brought your kid to a surgeon and you said, how many times you do this a year? Well, I do it about twice a year. How many times you do it, Sean? I do it about 8 times a month. Okay, I'm going to go to Sean, right? So the reality is, when I got in the mortgage side, realtors didn't really want to give me business. So I had to find a new way, and I had to find a new path forward. Scott, go to the next one, please.
Yes, sir.
So, here's the funny thing is, what I started to realize was, what makes people tick. I went back to my roots in, what I call NLP. And we talked about this, I think, as early as Tuesday. All right. And here's a simple pattern and a couple of things you need to know about people. People like to hear what they say. They like to hear people that talk like them. They like to hear people that speak the same language. They like to hear people that think like them, and they like to hear people that think have the same mindset. So how do you do that if I don't know who Devin or Scott is? Well, I'm going to ask Scott, and I'm going to say, hey, Scott, would you role play with me, please?
Sure.
Right. Hey, Scott, how are you? I understand you're looking for a mortgage for your house. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
Great. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, I'm renting right now, and I just need more space, and I want to own my own home.
So I guess what I'm hearing you say is you're renting right now and you want to buy a new home. Wow, that's fantastic. Hey, let me ask you a quick question. If we were able to get you to where you want, give you confidence and clarity that you're going to make the right decision in buying a home, would you be okay working with my team and I?
Yeah, I'm just nervous. I don't know anything about this. I've never bought a home, and so yeah, I'm nervous.
You're nervous. You know what? I was nervous too when I started, and quite honestly, if you're not nervous, there's something wrong with you. So let me explain something to you. There's 5 things that make people that are the most stressful things in the world: public speaking, right? Getting married, getting divorced, having a baby. And you know what the last one is? Buying a house. Okay. So if you're not even just a little bit nervous, you need to go see a therapist. Don't buy a house. Go see a therapist, because there is something mentally, physically, and emotionally wrong with you. So now that we got that out of the way, let me ask you, right? So if you notice, what I've been doing is each one of the times he said something, I would repeat it, I'd approve it, I'd affirm it, and I'd ask him another question. Obviously, because I'm a mortgage loan officer, I'm going to ask him a question that's in line with where I'm trying to direct him to. Right? So if Lynn says to me, hey, I'm tired of living in this house, I instantly know that tired is a word that's associated with moving away from pain. People either move away from pain or towards pleasure. By the way, if you're not sure, 85% of people move away from pain. The hippy dippy people that say, oh yeah, I don't care if I don't have a job, I'm going to hang out on the beach. They're usually the kids on a trust fund. They don't care. They're usually moving towards pleasure. Most people on this planet have to actually work for a living, or figure out a way to get some money in their pocket. So they're moving towards they're moving away from pain. So here's a funny thing is, people don't make decisions because, they're like, when you ask them about a rate and you're asking them about the mortgage and all that stuff, what's funny is they don't hear that. What they hear is, does Scott or does Devin or does Lynn give me a level of comfort and confidence that they know what they're doing, that they're not going to leave me in the deep end by myself. And when this is all over, they're not going to disappear like a thief in the night. So how do you do that? It's called future pacing in NLP. And what's funny is, during COVID, I actually got a class on future pacing for my 13-year-old daughter. So I live in a, three-story, 3,500, 4,000 square foot house. It's COVID. My two kids are each in a room downstairs on the first floor doing their school. My wife is on the second floor working in her office in the back of her office, and I'm on the third floor working in my office. It's about lunchtime. My 13-year-old comes up. She goes, "Dad, I'm done for the day," and she's in a bathing suit. And it's like March. I'm like, "What are you doing?" She goes, "Dad, I know we're not going to go to the beach. I know we're not going to go to the pool today. By the way, did you know the pool is open at your gym? But if we were going to go to the pool, do you think I could wear this bathing suit? Would this be okay if we went today? I know we're not going to go, Dad, but if we did go, could I wear this?" And I'm thinking to myself, holy crap, I had to pay some coach like 10 grand to teach me how to do what that kid just did, which was, she said to me, like, if I were going to go to the pool, she didn't tell me we're going to the pool, but she basically said, "Hey, Dad, we're going to the pool. You're going to take me to the pool and I'm going to wear this outfit." Right.
That's amazing.
So there's ways to lead people to a decision. And bear in mind, NLP has been used by some of the craziest people out there, and it's been used for good and bad. I'll be perfectly frank with you. Guys like the greatest speakers on the planet, probably one of the better speakers, Bill Cosby, Bill Clinton, and I'm not political about them at all. I'm just telling you as speakers. And the reason why was one of their speaking coach was actually my speaking coach before he passed away. And they said Bill Cosby was if you Google it, Bill Cosby was one of the highest paid speakers for doing keynote speeches at the time. Do me a favor, go to the next one, Scott.
Yes, sir.
So what has Rosie got to do with this, and how come how did Rosie rescue us and rescue my family? So Rosie is a guardian dog. So let me ask you a question. How many of you guys put in the chat? How many of you guys think what is the number one problem you see in the mortgage business or in the real estate business or any business for that matter? What's the hardest thing? Anybody got an idea? I'll give you a hint. It's called consistency.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? The problem is getting up every day and doing the grind. Right. And if you're passionate about what you do, it makes it a little easier, but you still got to grind. And, Scott and I were talking about this before we started. What I realized in the real estate business was I had to either focus on buyers or sellers. When I got into the mortgage business, I had to focus on either doing refinances or doing new acquisition loans. And the problem is they both take effort. And if you're doing, so what I started doing when I got in the business, by the way, 2022, I got in the real estate business. This is going to sound like when I changed companies. I sat down at the sales meeting for 200 people, first meeting after COVID. I find out later the head of sales for the entire country comes out and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is the worst goddamn mortgage market I've seen in 30 years. I was like, "All right, great. Welcome to the team." The problem is I had already burned the ships. And I don't know if you guys have heard of that analogy. I already made the line in the sand. I already took my license, put it in referral, and I had made the decision to go forward. So I didn't have any path but to go forward. My back was against the wall, you could say. The challenge was over the next year, I watched rates go almost to 8%. So you can imagine that I show up to a mortgage office sitting next to people that I was already training in the mortgage business. And the guy who was the head sales trainer for the branch actually decided to change jobs after 3 months after I was there for 3 months. Because I was doing business and he was not. And he was like, "There's something wrong here." And the reality was how did I end up doing business was I took out the same 10X personal success formula I used in real estate and took out all the people I had already had a conversation with, meaning that I had a database of 165,000 contacts in my database. And I had about 2,500 people that I either bought or sold a house to or rented a house to or anything on that, within that period of time. And what do you think I called them and said? "Hey, do you want to give me a mortgage?" No, I called them and I said, "Hey, how you doing? It's Sean Shallis. Just want to let you know I'm still in the real estate business. I just made a little bit of a change. I've actually decided to go onto the mortgage side so that I can help more families across the country. Let me ask you a question. If you knew anybody that can use my help, would you be okay with giving them my name and phone number? Or would you be okay if I contacted them? Of course we would. Sean, you helped us do this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. So here's what that looks like.
Can I just pause right there?
Yeah.
You guys hear that? That's pretty easy.
Oh, it gets better.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I know, but just that right there. If you just take that piece right there, and you say that to every one of your clients.
Here's what I tell people all the time in a coaching setting. Scott, how many people in the room how many of you guys contact your past clients? Lynn, can you unmute Lynn for a second?
Lynn, go ahead.
Lynn, you're going to play with me for a second. I know you're anal, like in a good way, right? Do you contact every one of your past clients center of influence?
Absolutely not.
Are you great at it though? You're better at it than most. I would assume.
I think I'm pretty darn good at it, and I still miss the mark always.
So here would be our thing. If I was in a coaching session with you and you were in a room with 100 people, I'd say, "Hey, Lynn, you want to do a little bet with me?" Sure. Okay, great. I'm going to take your phone and I'm going to start to call everybody in your phone. Everybody I ask who says, "Hey, Lynn, do you know Lynn is in the mortgage business?" If she's not, you're going to pay me $100. So how many calls can I make before I dial through your bank account? By the way, your phone is your bank account. So I'm going to dial through it and you're going to give me $100 for everybody who says, "Who, what?" Right. So that is the purest sense of what we're talking about here. So I got to wrap this up real quick. So what has Rosie got to do with this? So when I started doing a lot of loans in the beginning, I would say to people, bear in mind, the rates were like 7-8%. I specialized in doing, when I rebuilt my business, I swore that I wouldn't do what I did the first time. I wanted to only work with people I wanted to work with. So I wanted to work with high net worth individuals, doctors. That's what I focus on. 80% of people I work with is doctors with high net worth jumbo loans. So their loans were expensive unless they were doing an adjustable rate mortgage. And I would say to them, I'd say, "Hey, Scott, listen, I know it's an adjustable rate mortgage. I know your parents told you to be scared to death of them. Here's the good news. That was before, information traveled at the speed of light and sound. Here's the good news. I'm going to actually be your guardian. I'm going to watch your loan. And every 90 days, I'm going to call you like green on a pickle. And I'm going to ask you a handful of questions. It's going to sound like this, Scott. It's going to sound like, "Hey, Scott, how's your wife? How's your life? How's your wife? How's your pickleball? How's your golf? By the way, your mortgage rate is X. And either I could save you some money or I can't save you some money, or, oh my God, we need to get you into a fixed rate mortgage. The market is spiraling out of control." And any one of those is fine, Scott. But just know that today you can make a decision with comfort and confidence that you could take an adjustable rate mortgage. And if you call me or text me, you could literally text me and I will lock in your loan within a half hour of you texting me. So the old wives' tale of, "Oh my God, well, it takes time to get a mortgage," that's gone. That was years ago. And here's the best part, Scott. I'm human, and I'm going to say this offline. When I had 150 to 200 loans, I did this myself. And I would say to Scott, I'd say, "Hey, Scott, remember I told you I'm going to watch your loan and all that stuff? Listen, I'm human. There's going to be days when I'm going to go play golf. There's going to be days I'm going to lay in bed, or I'm going to go to a movie at 3 PM and forget to call you." But here's the best part. I have an algorithm on my computer that runs constantly. And it actually flags me if your loan gets to a certain number within a range, and that algorithm is going to raise its hand and say, "Hey, call Scott. He needs to know that he can actually save some money." So even if I screw up, the algorithm is going to remind me, and that runs every day, not every 90 days. So just to let you know, even if the lifeguard is asleep at the wheel, you're still going to be safe in my pool. Right now, I would tell them that. The challenge was, when I got to a point where I had about 150 loans, that algorithm, by the way, secretly was me. I would look at the loans, and I would look at my pipeline. The problem is you can't do that when you start to scale. Remember what I said in the very beginning? The problem with my real estate business was I could become rich, but I couldn't get wealthy because I couldn't scale it without me involved. I couldn't take me out of the equation. Well, this time, at some point, I was at a soccer game with my kid and a buddy of mine who has about 12 houses. And I was telling him what I was doing. And he goes, "Wow, that's pretty smart." And I said, "You know what? I can actually create that algorithm, for Christ's sakes. I'm pretty sure I know how to wire that thing and make it work." And that was about 2 years ago. I thought, and he said, "Well, how long do you think it'll take?"
Sean, before you go into that, man, I just want to I want to speak on something really quick, because you talk really fast, and this is great, right?
Dude, I'm
looking at the clock. That's why.
And you articulate very, very well, and that's one thing that you're amazing at. But if you guys didn't catch this, What he just did when he walked the consumer through how he works was build a confidence level in them as to who he is and how he's going to do business. Okay.
Scott, go back one page.
And that changes people's mindset, because now all of a sudden they don't go, I don't know, if I can trust this person. It's 100% I can trust this person. I know exactly what I'm getting into when I work with this person. And at the end of the day, they don't shop that. And I'm going to tell you this right now. They don't shop that, because you build so much confidence in how you do business. As long as you perform on that level after you start the transaction,
done.
You're Gucci.
I was, dude, I'm like, dude, I'm going to go with this guy.
Go the other way. And Devin, you're absolutely right. What I'm doing is I'm future pacing them to know that it's okay to jump in the pool. You can get in the deep end. It's going to be all right. I'm here. I'm a handful. I'm a phone call away. Scott, you want to go the other way, please?
I know what you're doing, Sean.
Right there. Oh, go back one. Go back one. There you go. Yes. So right in the middle, what Devin just talked about was what I'm doing is future pacing you. By the way, we may run like 2 or 3 minutes late, but I'm going to give you
pacing and leading, future pacing,
dude, I want
getting people built on a yes momentum.
Right. And
all
I'm getting them to say yes all the way to where I don't have to ask them if they want to do business with me. They're asking me, what do I have to do to get along with you, Sean? What do I have to do to become a part of your community? So Scott, go the other way, please, toward the end. So Rosie, here's but no, go back one. So what did I actually create is I actually created an algorithm now where it's called Rosie the Rate Guardian. It's based on my guardian dog, who when we first got my dog, she was literally 40 pounds. She's supposed to be 110 pounds. Her job is she's what they call a Great Pyrenees. They guard the sheep. They sleep all day and they stay up at night. And this dog would wake me up at 4 o'clock in the morning because there was something in my backyard over 600 yards away, like chirping in my backyard. And she would be poking me in the stomach going, hey, you got to get out of bed. We got to go look at this. Right. So, and then when it snowed, I figured out what she really does is she goes out my back door, runs to the fence line, runs the perimeter of the fence, and then comes back and sits in the middle of the yard in the middle of the snow and waits for something to happen. Right. So what it reminded me of is I'm like, wait a second. Rosie is the epitome of the guardian dog, Rosie the guardian. Rosie, by the way, Rosie the Rate Guardian, which is trademarked, is the process. And what is it is I'm going to give you guys access to it as a consumer, but here's how this works. If you look at this slide in the first slide where it says, hey, you know what, refi. What I actually did is wrote the algorithm where when I get up in the morning, it actually spits up it looks at my database, scans it, and says, call these people. Here's what you can actually help them with based on today's rates. And then people say, well, does it really work? To Devin's point, before I was calling you saying, hey, by the way, you want to do a loan with me, commission breath, right? Hey, Lynn, you know what? Remember me? Yeah, you know what? I can save you some money. You want to do a refinance? This is different. This is Rosie's going to reach out to you and say, hey, Lynn, by the way, my dad, Rosie's going to, believe it or not, I call it barking at you. She's going to bark at you and say, hey, you know what? You might want to talk to my dad. He could probably save you some money. And the point is, if you read the text from Simone, that's a legit, my first experience with this. Simone got it. And the first question she asked is like everybody else, how much does it cost me? I said, Simone, the goal is to get you a refinance as low as possible with no money out of your pocket. Let me look at the numbers, blah, blah, blah. Right. And if you read it, it says, good news. In order for Rosie to flag your loan, it's got to be close to make sense. Right now, Rosie's around 6.5, you're on 6.9, needs to be blah, blah. She's giving you a little warning bark. No full on wake up call bark. Right. Right. Awesome. And she wrote me back and I sent her the pictures of Rosie and her, what they call her journey or her what they call origin story. She writes me back, oh my God, that's so cute. Oh my God, that's great. Oh my God. Just let me know when my loan is at a place where I can actually save some money. Never once did she say, how much is the rate? What's it going to cost me again? Because now she doesn't give a shit. She only cares about how cool the dog is and how cool the process is. And it's hands off for her.
Well, you also told her that you're always looking out for her best interest. I'm always looking out for your best interest. The moment that your best interest is at peak, I'm going to reach out to you so we can take advantage of that and put you in a better place. But I'm not going to call you until that happens because I want you to be in the best possible place that you can be in.
What you don't see here is the first text that went out that said, hey, Lynn, by the way, you remember I told you I had this thing? And you remember I told you I was working on this like 2 years ago? Well, guess what? It's live. Here it is. Because I've been future pacing my customers that we've been working on Rosie, because we have. Even my family's tired of hearing of it. Right. And they're all of a sudden like, holy shit, it really worked.
Family's tired of it.
Right. Go to the next page. Yeah, my bank account won't be tired of it though.
Yeah, but Sean, you know what you're doing is you're selling them without selling them, right? So you've got Rosie that talks in third person with what you'd want them to know. And what's the best way to build trust, right? Hear it from someone else.
Third-party
Even
validation.
if it is a dog, they're hearing it from someone else.
It's
and you're
the reason why is she's harmless. She's like, if Scott talked about it,
and loyal.
Like, oh, he's a sales guy. If you talked about them to me about me, they'd be like, oh, she knows him or she's sleeping with him, whatever. Right? In this case,
hey, dude,
right, Rosie is harmless. She's a pooch. You know, the funny thing is, it's the most powerful thing I've come up with. So here's the best part. Remember what I said to you guys? There's two sides of the business. There's the acquisition side and the refi side. Well, unless you guys haven't noticed, 10-year treasuries went up to like 4.65 yesterday. So the refi business may be a little tough right now, depending on who's in your pipeline and when you wrote the loan. So now you have to do is you have to work on the other side of the business, which is the acquisition loan business. So what's interesting is
build the pipeline.
I've now built the other side of it, and Rosie's big brother, it's called Reservoir. So what if I said to you that, hey, Lynn, would you be okay if I actually took your database of all your past customers and said, we're going to take that, we're going to create a pond for you, and it's going to go and attract other people that have been through a divorce, that need to do a mortgage, and that understand you and you understand them. The way I used to explain this, and I'm not going to be politically incorrect, it's just the way I explain it. When I would do a sales meeting, I would say, listen, the Apaches don't want to buy teepees from the Comanche sales guy. They want the Apache sales guy to sell them Apache teepees because he speaks Apache. They don't, if I'm sitting at the fire and I hear that Mary, Joe, and Bobby Sue are getting divorced, Lynn's going to want to call them because she specializes in divorce. If I'm sitting at the fire and I know that they need, I'm sitting at the fire and I know that they need a mortgage and they're a doctor, I'm going to raise my hand and say, you know what, I can help you with that. But here's the best part. What if you can get them to raise their hand as opposed to, instead of you telling them, they tell you that, hey, I need your help? Because what Reservoir does is it actually takes your database, creates a lookalike database, and starts to churn it and starts to add to it and create like what you would call like a tilapia farm or a trout farm. So that when the refinance business does this, you go over here and you look at over here, and over here they raise their hand and they say, hey, I'm in the process of finishing my residency and I want a mortgage. I'm in the process of moving from one side of the state to the other. I need a mortgage because I changed my license. By the way, instead of me going to look for those people, the algorithm is actually creating it and actually warming them and culture and nurturing them. And it's even taking them out of the pond and going, oh, you're too small, throw you back. And then when it comes time where I need to go get an acquisition loan, I take my fishing net, I go over to the trout pond, I go, I start making calls. So where is this all going? Right now, there's a bunch of compliance things like who owns the data, who owns this, who owns that. I can't roll this out commercially just yet. What I can do is offer you guys as the founding, by the way, I look at you guys as like my real estate family extended to my mortgage family. My real estate family is literally like people like Gary Keller, Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry, Matt Ferry, people that are like extraordinarily, crazy people in the industry. That they were my mentors and coaches early on. I look at you guys and Scott and Devin and Coach Rick and everybody, Dave Brown and those guys as my mortgage family. And I figured where better to bring this out is where it was created and where it was really developed and cultured was right here. So what I'm doing is saying, hey, go to my website. By the way, if you go to my website, there's a stupid amount of information there that can help you build your business. Go to my website, go to that link, type in the word MLO live, one word, and you'll actually get access to Rosie. By the way, when you get access to Rosie, you put in your personal loan in there, like whatever your mortgage is and whatever, how much you owe and all that stuff. She's going to ask you a handful of questions and it's going to monitor your rate. And it's going to say to you, like, if there's an opportunity for you to save money, it's going to ping you just like it would do if it was your customer,
Crazy.
right? Eventually, the founding group will be the first people we'll roll this out to, where if we roll this out to, we get past the compliance hurdle and we say to you, hey, Lynn, you can actually do this for your customers now. You can actually use Rosie just like I'm using it on mine. You'll be the first people to do that with. And by the way, if you're in that founders group, by the way, it costs you nothing right now. There is absolutely, it's my gift to you guys. If you're in the founders group though, we're actually rolling out the Reservoir Guardian. If you look at my website, we have a whole bunch of products that we're rolling out. I'm a little bit of a AI geek. Here's the good news. Yeah.
So can I just so the reservoir, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the reservoir is I can reach out to whoever that has a database?
It's designed. It's honestly the first beta that I ran was for my coach and mentor of mine, a really good guy. He runs a business where he does blueprints and stuff he sells like a service where they house blueprints for like major government projects.
Okay.
And they have to have a centralized place where all the architects and all the engineers can get access to it to give a bid. And he was like, I want to go get more people across the country. I'm like, I could do that. And we basically took his database and said, let's model this and create the content. So like if you go to my website, you'll actually see that it's called Mortgage Moments.
Okay.
We take one piece of content. If I have a conversation with Lynn and it's about something like that, I had the same conversation with somebody else.
Yeah.
We take that and we turn that into a 10 or 12 piece multi-channel post.
Okay.
That goes out on 10 or 12 different channels.
MortgageMoments.com.
Yep.
Cool.
It's it's Mortgage Moments. It's on my site on SeanShallis.com.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And like there's Health Guardian is another product we're working on, but the reality is Rosie took 2 years. Reservoir will probably take about 6-8 weeks because we've now got it down to where we've built the model, we know how to use the products, and we know how to use the toolbox.
So does it ping clients whether you can put them in a better spot or not, just to say hi, or
it doesn't, because that's the whole idea, is that's what regular salespeople do. They do that because they have to do that in order to stay in touch with you, stay top of mind.
This puts them in a position where
what we're doing is Rosie's just a lifeguard.
That's crazy, man.
We have a whole nother, and then Reservoir is really the place where it keeps them warm. It does the nurturing. It does that.
Sign me up, bro.
What you're talking about.
Sign me up.
Yeah. It's a different approach to probably the oldest problem in the world is, focus.
Hey, Lynn, what do you think about adding this to our divorce division? Hello. Lynn's like, okay, I'm not going to sleep tonight.
I already signed up. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm already chatting with Rosie. It's like, you want to chat with Rosie?
I was going to say, Lynn, did it work, by the way? Did the funnel work?
It did, absolutely.
Yeah. By the way, it's going to ask you for your A2P compliance and all that stuff, because we really are building this to be
compliant.
Yeah. Yeah. If you haven't figured it out, we're looking at bringing it out to the.
Hey, just remember us little guys, man. Can I send you like a shirt and have you sign it or something?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll sell it on eBay for like $1 billion when you're on the New York Stock Exchange ringing the bell. Ding, ding.
Hey, listen, it's been a work of love. It's the coolest thing when I could say to you guys who I trust and value your opinion, and you guys, well, wow, this is great. To hear that from you guys, I was scared to death this morning, to be honest with you.
Dude, hey, Devin, he redid his presentation 6 times. I'm like, bro.
I know Sean, man.
I know too. I know.
You don't even have to tell me. But at the end of the day, it's just because he's a master of his craft.
I know.
When he does it, it's going to come across polished and clean, because that's what it should be, right? That's what a professional does. And I think that's what a lot of people forget, right? If you want to make the big bucks in this industry, you've got to think like that, right? It's no different than being a professional athlete who's out there doing the same plays every single day over and over and over and over again to get better, to just get just a little bit better, right? That's what it's all about, man. And that's how Sean works. So you didn't have to tell me. I already know.
Lynn, I don't know if you saw it, but you're going to get a text with the 10X personal success formula.
Yep. Signed up for that. I got that.
By the way, I don't want to make light of that. That is literally a summary of over $1 million invested in coaches, trainers, and everything else. And that model works. I don't care if you're in real estate. I don't care if you're a mortgage person. I don't care if you're selling like buggy whips. It's designed to walk you through a process so that at the end of a week, you could literally hit the ground running in any business. I've taken people that are like what my brokers called, that guy's a wet rag, we're going to fire him. And I was like, you know what, give him to me. And I trained that same guy is still in the business 10 years later. He probably makes about 250 grand a year.
Good for you.
Well, if you guys just heard what he just said,
really
he said, I'm taking all the
By the way,
knowledge that
that's
I've
like
spent.
10 years old, by the way, at this point.
Yeah.
But
All the knowledge I've taken millions of dollars to get to this point, and I'm giving it back to you for the low cost of nothing, right? All you got to do is follow the plan.
All right.
Well, man, important, by the way, is just give us some feedback. If you see something that if there's a bug or if it's not working right, please reach out to me. And by the way, my information is I'm the easiest guy on the planet to find.
Hey, bro, I don't care about compliance. How do I get in?
You're in. You're in.
You know, Sean, I got to tell you, you've done a phenomenal job at marketing Rosie, because he's got this one page on his site where it's like, most people overpay for their mortgage. Rosie, make sure you don't.
Oh my God.
And he's got this savings score. So it's like, hey, do you want a rate check? Rosie's going to, stand watch, and Sean's going to close it for you. Do you want to know what your savings score would be? Like, that's basically, hey, let me have your numbers and let me see what I can save you. But it's his savings score.
Wow.
And it ranks it for them. So beautifully done, my friend. Beautifully
Good
done.
stuff.
By the way, it's if you talk to her at any length and ask her numbers or questions like that, you know what she's going to say? If she hasn't done it already, she say, you know what, that's a great question. I can't talk about that for compliance. You know what? Let me see if I get you in touch with my dad. Did you want to talk to my dad, Sean?
My dad.
Let me get my dad on the phone. And it's, it's designed to where instead of me having to. So here's the last piece of this. There's other systems that watch rates and all that stuff, right? And they'll give you a list of 10 people to call in the morning. And Devin's been in the call center, right? So Devin, you tell me how accurate this is. I give Lynn, who's our top salesperson, 10 people to call that need a mortgage, not want to, need one because they're tagged today. Lynn gets on the phone and she's super diligent, and she gets on. She calls the first one, they tell her go to hell. She calls the second one, they go to hell. She gets the third one, and Scott says, "Oh my God, this is awesome! I'm ready. Pull the trigger!" Right? So Lynn, what does Lynn do? She does what's extremely human and natural. She hangs up the phone, jumps up in the air, does the victory dance, says, "Oh my God, it's 11:30. I better get to lunch." Usually she goes to lunch at 1 o'clock, but she goes to it's 11:30. I'm going to go to lunch. By the way, the rest of the other 6 people on the list never get called.
100%. No question about it.
Why is Rosie going to be different for the IBDs, the independent broker community? It's reversed. Instead of saying, Lynn, here's 10 people to call you, Rosie's going to reach out to 10 people that day, and then she's going to do a hot sync call back to Lynn, and Lynn's phone's going to ring, and she's going to answer the phone and say, "Oh my God, this is Scott calling me for a loan." And then when she's done with that one, it's going to tee up another one. So it takes the human out of it and actually forces you to go. Remember, I talked about the surfboard leash. That is the surfboard leash. You get somebody on the phone, you're gonna make 10 grand. Your first instinct is to go run away. My coach taught me the best time to make another phone call is right after you had success.
No question.
100%, man.
100%.
Well, I'm going to, validate what you said to, Sean, because I introduced some AI to, my consumer direct team a few years back. And effectively, same type of lead type, right? Ultimately, client that is dinging that there's a good opportunity for them, but they didn't reach out to us, right? And my AI reaches out to them and communicates with them. And we're in a meeting, and one of my loan officers raises his hand. He's like, "Hey, I got this calendar meeting for somebody I've never talked to." And I said, "Yeah, let's go ahead and pull this up right now." And I pull it up, and we look at it together, and you can see where it's communicating with the client. It's actually asking for him to call them right now. He doesn't call them, but it suggests that they get on the calendar and they book on the calendar with them. So to your point, they're not going to call, right? They're not going to call all these people.
They don't want to call.
Your system dummy proofs that, and they will show up to a calendar appointment. So
I will say this. I'm going to give you one last thing I'll leave you with. I was on a call yesterday or 2 days ago with Brad, right? Remember? I love Brad. Right.
Yeah.
Big fan. I use GHL, and GHL operates my business. I've been using it for 20 years. It's a beast to use unless you're really a geek. It's not really made for a day-to-day database.
Right.
But here's the difference between what he's teaching and what I teach and what I've kind of figured out over the years. I changed the paradigm. in my business, because what happened was, and I'll be perfectly frank with you, and Lynn, the reason why I appreciate what you do in the divorce business, 2008-9, I was making 80 grand a month. Okay. I had a team of 3 people. I was working a 4.5-day week. I had 2 kids. I was standing over my kid's crib. The market, literally, I lived in New York and in New Jersey on the border of New York City. My clients were 60% were high net worth in New York working on Wall Street. I watched the real estate market go 45% down in 6 months. I watched prices go down 47% in 6 months. And even though I was a creature of habit and I knew the numbers, that meant that I had to work 4 times as hard to make this amount of money. And at one point I had 100 listings in my inventory because I needed 10 listings to sell one house. So, but when Jim Weicker bought my company in 2008 and 9, he's like, how come you have so many listings as an individual? I go, I need 10 to get to one sale. And I go, I like to eat at night. I like to eat, and I like when the credit cards work. What's interesting is I stood over my kid's crib and swore I would never let that happen again. And I would never become a function of the market. So when I got in the mortgage business, the guy sitting next to me said, hey, this is great, but with the market, you just can't do blah. And I go, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. And he goes, sure you did. I go, I don't want to hear that. I go, I will guarantee you I will never be a function of the market ever again. And he goes, what are you talking about? You have to be. I go, you do not. If you know your numbers, it doesn't matter what the market is doing. You just have to react to those numbers in that market. So what does that look like in layman's terms, right? When at some point I actually said, I am getting tired of grinding and calling and calling and calling, and I flipped the paradigm. So instead of cold marketing to groups of people, little secret, I was a ranger in the Army. I could shoot the fly off of a cow's butt, probably get about 600 yards. Okay. And I was a sniper. So I learned how to pick one person and shoot at that key person versus shooting at the masses with buckshot. Brad, buckshot works. It's a model. Inbound, it works. Me, I create ponds of people. I create targeted audiences, very niche audiences, people that are divorced, people that speak TP language, right? Right? Put them in a pond. And then I shoot at them. I basically reversed the paradigm to where I basically took the prospecting model, and instead of me prospecting them, I created the pond. I seed the pond. I water the pond. I put all the fertilizer out. I make sure they're safe. I get the lifeguards. I have Rosie running around, making sure that they're okay. And they want to stay in the water. The water is fine. They keep it at the perfect temperature. And then when they need to do something, they raise their hand and they go, where's that guy? The guy who runs this place. Where's that guy? That is quintessentially, now it's an offensive phone call. It's an offensive conversation. So to your point, Lynn, you look at my website, it's all about the origin story. It's all about contributing back, and actually, it's probably 90% informational, and 10% let me help you.
That's how it should be.
It's kind of hard to figure out how to go interact, Yeah. So hopefully that helps.
Dude,
it's really about reversing the paradigm, though, for me.
I just want to
Sean, on your website, you just hit the sign in. Is that where you go to register?
No, go to Sean Shallis, /.
There's an intake form.
Yeah.
/
MLO.
MLO.
So when I Google and hit the MLO, your website doesn't come up, is why I'm asking.
Here, I just sent you the link, Mike.
It
Click on
comes
that.
up. I just did it.
Yeah, I'm on here right now, brother. I just sent it to you. And I'll send it to you through Rome as well.
Well, I did ride the little bus to school, so
yeah.
What's that,
Mike? I did ride the little bus to school.
Yep. I was on it with you, brother. So we had.
Yeah, I had headgear. You did not.
Well, that's all. That's clearly visible. I look behind you.
When Coach Rick, I first met Coach Rick, and Coach Rick said, "Oh my God, you're an overnight success." I'm like, "Nah, I've been a student for 35 years." I go, "I'm still learning."
This is some good stuff, man, dude. How do I buy in? Because I know this. This is crazy, man. This is
fill out that form, man. Click on the link. Fill out the form.
Oh no, I want to buy in because somebody's gonna buy him.
That's another conversation. I'm actually my investors. Right now, my investor is Rosie, and I have a really pain in the ass boss. It's called my wife. So by the way, here's your final NLP story. You ready?
Okay.
So I meet my wife in the bar, and at some point 6 months later, I ask her to marry me. And somebody says, how'd you meet your wife? And we are diabolically opposites. I was the kid with the purple mohawk checkered sneakers, Dead Kennedy's t-shirt, OP shorts in in the 80s, right? Surf punk kid in Jersey of all places, which doesn't even add up. My wife, on the other hand, valedictorian, 600 kids, gets a full scholarship to Catholic University, becomes a doctor, and super successful, right? Smartest person I ever met. At some point, she looks at me and she goes, and it comes up about, how, like, if for the guys in the room or for the other spouses in the room that get yelled at, like, it comes up about once every 3 or 4 years in the knockdown fight brawl. You used that NLP crap on me, didn't you? And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, to marry me. You asked me to marry me.
Oh my God.
Me, right? And I'm like, you use that. I'm like, you figure it out. I'm like, purple mohawk checkers sneakers, valedictorian. No, of course I didn't. When is now a good time to actually marry me? Obviously, you realize what a great opportunity it's going to be to spend our lives together.
I love it.
So good, bro. So what's funny is I used the NLP last night, and then I got it was used on me. I did a presentation with 7 agents virtual. And the last thing I left with, I said, listen, because they kept asking about scripts and scripts and scripts. I said, here's the thing. You don't actually need scripts. You just need to repeat whatever your client says to you as a question.
You need the script, but you need to understand the power of the script.
Correct.
Here's this, and Devin and I talked about this.
We did a podcast on it.
30 to 40, this Harvard by the way, not me. And analysis of language and communication, 40 to 50% of what you say is your body language. By the way, that's why I'm moving.
I thought it's higher than that. Isn't it higher than that? I thought it was like
40
70%.
to 50%.
Is it 40, 50?
The other 37% to 40%, okay, is the rate of speech and the tone at which you say it at. The last 6 to 8% is actually the words on the page. So the reality is, if I say to Scott, hey, Scott, you can go to hell, he didn't hear it. He didn't even hear what I said because he only heard 6% of what I said. Right. So you can actually tell somebody in a script, so what they will hear, though, is when I raise my voice and lower my voice, and I'll give you an example of this. Hey, Scott, you know what? That's a great haircut. Right. And when I say it that way, people are like, what do you mean? What's wrong with his haircut? Or I could say, that's a great haircut. Totally. If I lower my voice at the end, it validates that, it makes a command and it says, Scott's got a great haircut. If I raise my voice at the end of my conversation and the end of that question, it creates a question and it actually gets people. So how does that work is, hey, obviously, Scott, you told me you want a house with a backyard, a big backyard. I mean, obviously this is a big backyard, isn't it? And they're looking at you going, no, it's not. And by the way, ask people questions you need answers to, or you want to lead them to. I don't want them to buy this house. I want them to buy the listing I have, which has the bigger yard. But we're not going to look at that one until last. So what I'm going to do is make it sound like this one is not the one you're looking for.
Isn't it?
These are not the droids you're looking for.
Yes.
Without saying, by the way, this isn't the house you're looking for, because at that point, once you do that, they don't trust you anymore.
Good stuff, brother. Good stuff, man.
If you guys want to know more on the NLP stuff, not that I'm shamelessly plugging my podcast, but I am. I just dropped a link to the podcast I did with Sean a couple of months back. So feel free to pop on there. And if you do, make sure you subscribe.
By the way, my podcast is the Loan Doctor podcast, but you can get most of that stuff on my website.
Loan Officer Success Live.
Oh, somebody opened it up.
Do it right now.
All right, guys. Hey, Sean, love you, man. Congratulations on your success.
Thanks for the time. Thank you, everybody, for allowing me your time.
The kind words, man. And
thank you, brother.
Family as well. So
that's place to learn right here.
All right, man.
And thanks for playing, by the way.
How few people got to see this today? Isn't that amazing? I don't know about you guys, but I was thinking about this yesterday. I love smaller groups because we can collaborate together and talk and listen. And I don't know, man. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm just honored to be a small piece of this and have met all you amazing people, and Davin and Lynn and Brian and Sean and everybody else I can't see. But I just want to say thanks for being a part of this very small knit, amazing family that's doing some great things. So,
on that note,
See you guys. Appreciate you.
Man, great day today, man. Thank you so much, Sean Shallis, for coming over here and just dropping the knowledge, right? What an amazing guy. And, you know, I say it all the time, man. Scotty Hudspeth, you know, brother, we love you so much for bringing everybody together here and helping elevate and educate and taking people to that next level. So until next Tuesday, you guys get out there and have a blessed rest of the week, a blessed weekend, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you guys for being friends. We love you guys. Take care.